Hi, teachers. It's 3 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to GEGUtah and UEN's Open Google training here on Wednesday, January 18th. I am so excited to be here with you. Today, we are talking about, no joke, one of my favorite top three topics in education. I just love talking comics and using digital tools to create comics. I think it's one of my I loved using them in my ELA classes. I love the diversity comic books bring to students and the way it encourages them to read. Plus, it's super popular right now. I mean, who hasn't seen a Marvel movie in the last year or so? And then on top of that, creating them opens up a lot of avenues for us to teach and engage with our students. So today, we're going to be looking at the applied digital skills lesson called Creating Comics with Google Drawings. And like always, if you've never been to one of these open sessions, we're going to go for about 40 minutes. If you have to leave or if you have to miss part of it, don't worry, it's recording and we'll be putting this up on YouTube on UEN's channel later this week. And so you can watch it later as well. Rewind, watch different parts of it. In that 40 minutes, we're going to spend about the first 20 minutes actually going through the applied digital skills lesson, talking about the different things that applied digital skills outlines. And this is one of the quicker applied digital skills lessons. They reference it as about 45 minutes to an hour and a half, which I would agree with that. I think it's a fairly quick lesson. It's something you could do in a day or two with kind of the things that they're looking for with a couple add-ons. But it also could be easily extended out to a week-long assignment or done multiple times in short form in your classroom, or you could turn into a remix assignment, which is something we're going to look at as well here in a few minutes. Before we get started too deep, after that 20 minutes, after looking at the lesson, we'll look at those remixes. I have 3 of them that we'll look at today, some different sites, some different ways of looking at it. We'll look at Jamboard, which is one of my favorite apps on Google. And then if we have any questions, we'll address them as well. All right, let's jump over to our site. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here with you so you can see what's going on. On here, this is our site for our Applied Digital Skills series. This is go.uen.org/lowercase b, uppercase T, and the number 9. This series is going to be finished up next Tuesday here on the 25th. And it will be pre-recorded. Sadly, it'll be my last one. I will be at FETC. I'm very excited to go to that conference. But this one will be our last live one, and the next one will be pre-recorded. Then I'm going to be taking a 2-week break to kind of get ready for the next series, which will be on PCBL, personalized competency-based learning, and different technology tools in use in that process. So I'm very excited to share that with you. On here, you can find my information. I'm Matt Winters. I'm a UEN trainer and instructor. I'm also the GEGUtah leader or co-leader with Kelly Cannon, I should say. Kelly helps me run it. She's out of Jordan School District and she's fantastic. Here's my email. And then also here's my Twitter at @TeacherWinters, @TeacherWintersUtah. Feel free to contact me, ask questions, share around this lesson plan, these ideas. I'm not the type that will say, no, don't share that. Please feel free to share it with any teacher that work with it. Here are the quick links to each lesson page, and then some information about UEN and Google EDU and 90 and a wakelet of our tools and our social media. So feel free to borrow those, jump on those, grab tons of different things. If you're a Utah teacher, I just got to say today there's some really cool stuff happening with Utah education and some funding through Donors Choose, which is amazing. So check that out. Before we get going too, I just want to, because it's the beginning of the year, a lot of teachers are looking for professional development opportunities, especially professional development opportunities that are somewhat on their own time. It's not, I have to finish in a certain amount of time or a certain 6-week period, but I'm looking for something to help develop my skills and work through some ideas and maybe up my game in my classroom. So I do want to point out that UEN, Utah Education Network, runs courses called MOOC courses. They're on demand. You can take them for credit, and a lot of them walk you through on your own time. On top of that, we do run 6-week or 12-week courses as well that are generally free. There's a few that have a little bit of a cost associated with them to get credit, but there's tons of different courses. You can be an Adobe Creative Educator, you get an Apple Teacher ID, iPad badge, or one of my favorite ones down here, my favorite 2 actually, Google Level 1, Google Level 2. And if you take those courses through UEN, we offer a voucher program to give you the test credit. So you don't have to pay the $10 for the level 1 or the $25 for level 2. We just give you a voucher so you can take those tests for free, which is great. So check those out. The catalog is uen.catalog.instructure.com. All courses are offered through Canvas, and it's a great process. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me, mwinters@uen.org. Along with that, Google has a lot of opportunities on there. I'm teaching a creative Google skills class, and then those aforementioned level 1, level 2 courses. So lots of stuff for Google on there if you're interested only in Google. But as we know, we can't always just use one app. We have to use multiples as well. So again, if you're going to join me today, feel free to jump on go.uen.org/lowercase b, uppercase T, and the number 9. This is where all of our materials are at. We're going to jump right into creating comics now. So over here on the left-hand side, you can see the drop-down Applied Digital Skills lessons. If you go ahead and click on that, you're going to find all the lessons that we've done thus far. We've done 6. If then storytelling, build a portfolio, research and develop a topic, create an animation, create a guide to an area, an introduction to machine learning. If you click on any of those, you're going to see both the content from that lesson and the remix options and all the stuff, the materials that are free for you to click on, make a copy of, use in your classroom. No questions asked, please use them. I understand how difficult it is. And I think most trainers and technologists understand how hard it is in classrooms right now. And what we're doing is trying to support you in what you're doing. So if this supports you, if borrowing and using these in your classroom, go ahead and do so. On top of that, at the very top, you can see here's the video for last week's lesson, which was Introduction to Machine Learning. It's about a 40-minute video. So feel free to watch that and walk you through all of the ideas, all the remixes, and then also gives you some great ideas for how to apply it both in your class and across your school's curriculum. Today, where we're going to spend most of our time is create a comic strip. So go ahead and click on that link. As you can see, there's no video there yet. This is the video right here. I'm going to be posting that right there as soon as it gets posted on YouTube. But on here, you're going to find, first of all, links to the Applied Digital Skills lesson, which we'll go to here in a minute. You're going to find their starter project, which is a copyable link of a comic strip planning document. Really, really helpful for students, and could be easily changed from comic strip planning to filmmaking planning guide document. There's tons of different things you could work with. We also have a GEGUtah and UEN lesson resource on Google Drawings and Jamboard. If you are new to Drawings and Jamboard, this is a great way to jump in, easy way to get some great ideas from it. Underneath that, you're going to find some extension activities from Applied Digital Skills. Each one is about a 3-minute video, and they're linked here. And I wanted to show you this to you today because I downloaded these directly from their website legally because they give them away for free, and was able to upload them to my site through Google Drive. So feel free to watch these videos and use them. I'll check sharing permissions and make sure you're ready to go. The last thing down here are some remix options, 2 through Jamboard and 1 through Sketch.io. We'll come back to those at the end, about the last 10 to 15 minutes of our class today. All right, first things first, you're going to jump all the way to the top, click on the link that says Applied Digital Skills, and it's going to take you directly to this page. Now, again, if you've never been to Applied Digital Skills and you're going, I'm here for lesson plans, not for a new site that I have to work with, don't worry. That's what Applied Digital Skills is. It's a lesson plan site through Google to teach students all those technical skills, those technology skills that they might need to know to complete an assignment in Google Docs or Forms or Sheets or Slides or AppScript or whatever it might be. But the teacher might be lacking in those skills. So Google takes upon themselves to show the students how to do that. And so the teacher can focus mostly on the curriculum, the content, and helping to coach students through the process appropriately. So it just takes some weight off the students. If you've never been here before, you and your students can sign in right here. Students will go ahead and sign in, and they can be added to a teacher's class. It'll check their progress, allow teachers to see a check at the end. It's a quick quiz. And it's just a nice way to do it, but they can be used completely without a login as well, which is really nice for a lot of teachers. On this homepage, you're going to find, first of all, the start and the link to share it to Classroom, Facebook, or Twitter. A little nice graphic there, kind of see where we're going here in a few minutes. You're going to see the activities. The time to complete is 45 to 90 minutes. So for a junior high class, it's about 2 class periods. For a high school class, that might be 1 single class period. Elementary, hour and a half. So you'll be working through it. You're going to see drawings and sheets as options here for what we're going to be using. And underneath it, an outline of what the student's going to do. On the teaching materials side, you're going to see all the videos, lesson plans, certificates of completion, and the sample rubric. So makes it really easy for us as teachers to download content, edit that content, share it out with our students, even if we're not using Applied Digital Skills, so we can get some really great ideas to our students. On top of that, you can sign in for more features, so it makes it a little bit easier for your students as well. All right, to start off with, we're going to go ahead and start. I'm just going to show you, if you've never been here before on this page, you're going to go ahead and see right here, if I click play, this is our video that will walk us through. And there are, in this case, about 5 of them for students to watch. Each one is about 2 to 3, maybe 4 minutes tops. And we'll walk the student through the process from beginning to end, including reminding them to sign into their accounts, walking them through where to find the applications, and doing all of that little tiny work, that minutia work that we often have to do to repeat ourselves to make sure that students are in the right place to get the assignment done. So this is really helpful for that. On the right-hand side of this, you can see there's our volume and our size, our full screen, but also in this little drop-down, you can see here's a link to download the video. Captions are available. Playback speed can be sped up or slowed down, and students can do picture-in-picture, which is really nice in a lot of these videos. So it makes it really accessible for lots of different learners and makes it a lot easier for students to get work done. On top of that, over on the right-hand side, you're going to see the instructions for the project for that particular step. You're going to see all the work the students and teachers need to do before they get going, and then also that starter project that we're going to work on. We're going to jump over to, again, we're back on our GEGUtah Applied Digital Skills page. We're going to start with our starter project. So you can click this link. It's from Google. It'll take you to make a copy of this document. The first thing Google says is make sure that you turn off the copy of up here at the top. So just go ahead and delete copy of. And they also recommend, putting your last name in there or your full name. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that to here as well. Now, again, like I said earlier, this could easily be changed from comic strip to filmmaking planning document. So either way is great, but the idea stays the same. So they're going to come up with a title. So I'm going to go ahead and call this Gaming in the Classroom. And what they ask you in the assignment is to create 4 panels. So 4 panels, if you're not familiar with comic language, 4 panels are 4 individual pieces of art with text on them. So in between those panels, you're going to see white space, the gutters in comic speak of the comic book. So we're going to fill up all these panels with a consecutive story that tells us something in just 4 panels. Now, thinking about famous comic writers over the last 100 years, thinking about like Charles Schulz, Peanuts fame, if you're a fan, or Garfield, those writers were able to capture amazing comical or heartwarming images in a single panel, often for newspapers. So when we talk about these, 4 panels doesn't seem like a lot, but 4 panels is also a lot of space for students to build and create something really interesting depending on content. Remember that you can give them the content as well. You can say, I want you to write about something that we've done in our history class for last week, or maybe it's explain a mathematics problem in comic form to your partner, or maybe it's recreate a scene in a novel or explain a scientific process. The options are endless. So that's where Google Applied Digital Skills is really helpful, is that they can step in, the teacher can step in and say, okay, I want this content to match this assignment, run with it, students. So first thing we're going to do is we have 4 panels. Frame 1, they're calling them frames. I call them panels. Same thing. Panels is just a different way of saying it. They're going to ask you to fill in action, characters, setting, and objects. So I'm just going to do this for 1 because of time. But let's say the first thing is student plays game in class. Cool, easy. So we're going to have student, let's say around 14 years old. These are the kind of age students that I worked with. And teacher, I'm going to date myself, mid-30s, ready to roll. Okay, setting, obviously I've already said it, but classroom, we're going to see possibly a blackboard or a whiteboard, and some desks. Cool. Already kind of explained it in setting, but let's go ahead and add this. So they're going to see a desk. We're going to see a laptop or a Chromebook. We're going to see a whiteboard. We may see a window. Let's see if we can get that going in there as well. Seeing my old classroom. So students would come up with and generate the idea process for all of the different things that are going to be in that panel to then move us from panel A to panel 2, panel 3, panel 4, or B, C, and E, or D. Just reminding the students as they go through of what action is going to be key in there. So the action for us in panel 1 is the student's going to be playing a video game. Panel 2 might be teacher walks up to student. Panel 3, teacher asks student what game they're playing. Panel 4, high five. That's an amazing game. Relationship built, that sort of thing. You thought I was going to go a different direction with that. I know. So this makes it really easy for students to first delineate what's going to happen in the panel. The characters will pretty much stay the same because in this case, we only have 2. Setting is going to stay similar, but maybe we're going to look at different directions, and you might want to show them different comic panels. Maybe you're even reading a graphic novel with your students to kind of show them different perspectives they can work with. And the last thing is objects. Okay. What are going to be in that room? What's going to be seen? What perspective are we going to see it from as well? You could even change this from objects to objects/perspective. So it might be like, for instance, if this column or line 2 is student is playing video game and teacher walks up, maybe it's student's laptop from over the shoulder perspective. So to show the teacher's perspective, that sort of thing. So these are things you can coach the student on, coach them through that process. And if you're not a big comic fan and you're going to do this for the first time, just know that that knowledge comes over time. Reading comic books, reading graphic novels, particularly ones aimed at your interests, is a really great starting point. But then also diving into working with your students over time builds up that competency for creating comic books, creating panels, and those sorts of things. All right. So let's pretend got it all filled out, got 1 through 4. Could I add a 5th? Absolutely. Could I add 6? Absolutely. So you can make this as big or as little as you want. The students could create a full page. You could really map it out and make a nice panel of comics and then put them all together as a group. You could even have them create a comic book, 4 pages with 4 panels per page or something like that. Having that kind of opportunity allows for different ways of students to be working with it. Now, the next thing that Google recommends is now to go over to Google Drive, which I'm just going to go ahead and add drive.google. And if I go over there, I can go ahead and go new, more, and drawings. Or because the video on applied digital skills doesn't go over, there's actually a great little shortcut. So I'm going to go ahead and go past my table here, enter down a couple times, hit insert, and now I can do a Google drawing right now, brand new from there. So there's my Google drawing. I'm good to go. I can start drawing right away. Now, if I don't love this drawing, if I don't like the limitations it has on me, because it is kind of limited as far as what you can do here, you can always save and close and then just go ahead and go over your drive and start a brand new drawing. So students can do it all in one, or they can do it separately. I'm going to do it separately just to make it easier on us and walk it through. So the first thing that we've got to do is we're going to make a 4-panel comic. We know that right off the bat. So we've got to divide our panels into 4. So we can do that a couple ways. The first thing is we could use shapes, and we could draw boxes and have those boxes wherever we want on the page. The other thing what we could do is also use the line tool to draw lines to separate what's going on. So like, for instance, I could click right here on the line at the top, holding down my shift key, which gives me a straight line. I can draw all the way down to the bottom section, and now I have a straight line. I can do that again across the middle, and I'm good to go. And what's nice is that if I move back over to my cursor tool, I can line these up perfectly, dead center, creating a perfectly proportioned square, group of 4 squares. Now, if I mess up, like for instance, right there, you see how that's not quite there. I can always extend that up and I'm good to go. So that's number 1. That's the easiest one. You could do that for your students, or you could grab boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. So in the shapes column here, we have so many different shapes, arrows, different boxes we can work with. And even within like square boxes, we have some cut off edges that might make some great panels. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one here, maybe something like that. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the fill really quick, make it transparent. Let's go ahead and draw another one, kind of like so. You can see I'm leaving my white space, my gutters in between, to leave us a little bit of space for the drawing, or for the comic book, just giving that comic book feel. Boom, right there. I'm going to go ahead and Command C and Command V that one to put one right next to it. And I can resize it to match just a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the fill on these. Oop. Moved it just a bit there. And now I have a comic book page that actually looks kind of like a comic book. Now I just got to start drawing some art. So there's lots of different ways to do this. The first one that they recommend is using the shapes to go ahead and draw some of the things in your on your page. So the first thing we want to do is maybe draw our classroom. So I need a whiteboard in the front. I'm going to color that a little bit off white. There we go. Cool. I need a desk for the student. So I'm going to draw a shape as well. We have a nice little smiley face, which is kind of cool. And again, holding down my shift key, it makes it proportional. Whereas with this one, I can make it wherever it's at. If I draw it proportional, it's ready to go. Maybe this is actually the teacher. This is me in the front of the classroom. Notice too, I love the smiley face in here. If I want to turn it into a frown, I can. Ooh. Really fun, real quick there. And because art is important in here, but it's not the most important part, remind your students that just because you're creating a comic book doesn't mean that it has to be perfect. It can look goofy. It can look weird. The idea is to convey information and make it easier for your students or for everyone to see what's going on in it. And so if your student is getting like becoming a perfectionist, if they're like, I need it to be exactly what I want it to be, I'll remind them, hey, it can be a stick figure. It can be whatever it is you want it to be. It doesn't have to be the absolute perfect piece of art. So what I've done there just really quickly is, just colored my shapes, layered them by playing with, if I right click on any shape, playing with my order, or you can do Control Shift or Control down key or up key to get to where you want it to be. So I've drawn my person. He's kind of weird and lanky. So I'm going to maybe a little bit shorter there. I'm tall, so I just always assume like make the height as big as possible. Let's get a desk in here. Cool. Let's change that color, and we're going to make it like kind of a light brown, maybe a little bit more on the perspective. And then let's make a little computer. So boop. Cool. Let's make that like a gray, and then Control C, Control V. Just kind of matching it up here. Boop. Cool. So we got a computer. We're gonna add another person in here, but this is kind of what we're looking for. Is it doesn't have to be perfect. It can just be kind of fun and engaging and interesting. So we're going to pretend again like I've filled in all 4 boxes. Once I've filled in all 4 boxes, the next step is for us to add some dialogue. So we want to have somebody speaking or some sort of description. Now, if you've ever read a graphic novel or a comic book, you know that can be done in one of 2 ways. So the first way is through speech bubbles. So I'm going to make the person in the front, me, speak. So that's great through shapes right here. I can do call outs, and there's lots of different versions. We can do a thought bubble as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and grab, I like this little circle one. I'm going to grab it right there. I can pull the speech bubble over to me just by grabbing that little orange dot. I'm going to change the color to be, let's just do pure white there. And then classic comic book, right? And then we can add our text. So we can go ahead and draw a text box just right in that space. Hello, class. Let's start work on our comics. Cool. I can play with my font. I can play with my size, and Google does show students how to do that if they are unfamiliar with like font drop downs and those sorts of things to make them size different and those sorts of things, or colors. The other option that we have, and I'm going to do it up here in this big box, is to draw another shape. Let's just do like kind of a heralded square, like a curved square right here. And now I can put my text right here inside of kind of a bigger box. And I'm going to change the color of this just because I kind of dig when comic books make it a little bit different as far as like, here's a text that somebody's speaking. Here's a text that's coming from like a narrator. So boom, right here. The teacher sees Billy playing a video game. ... So teaching students, there's 2 different ways to do their text. two different ways. They can do it speech bubble, they can do it in this narrator form as well, is a great way to give them options to tell their story. Maybe they don't want to do it in the straight ahead text bubble and have a dialogue back and forth. Maybe instead they want to have some narrator or somebody telling the story to them. Or maybe they want to do like one of my favorite tropes in graphic novels. They're going to tell a story in retrospect. Maybe it's Benjamin Franklin telling the story of how he discovered electricity. It's kind of an old man or something like that. So once this is done, students are going to, again, fill in the text, tell the story, fill in all 4 boxes, and then they're good to go. They can turn it in. Now, to turn it in, they can either go ahead and share it as always. Let's go ahead and I'm going to call this comic sample. Save. And then they can send that share link off to whoever they need to. Or they can also go ahead and download their comic book as well as either PDF, JPEG, PNG, or scalable vector graphics. If you've ever never played with an SVG file, it's kind of fun to do so for 3D printing and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and download this as a PDF. It downloads, and we can open it up, and there's my comic book ready to go in all its wonderful glory. The other option that students might have is, for instance, they can also insert images, and they can upload images, or they can search through Drive or the web. So they might even go out and take pictures. They might use something like remove.bg or Adobe Creative Cloud Express to remove the background on images, or to borrow clip art and those sorts of things. That's totally fine as well. And there's extensions for doing that inside of this project. But that's it, folks. That's basically the whole idea of this Applied Digital Skills lesson. If we go back to our site here, that walks you through here and down to their extensions. Now, Applied Digital Skills offers how to add color to your Google Drawing, how to caption your comic strip, and how to create word art. All of them great extensions, especially for those students who have a tendency to finish early. Definitely recommended to check those out. So with that said, let's get into some remixes, shall we? I love the remixes I have this week because these are things that I'm either borrowing from people I deeply respect, like Jackie Gardy and Dan Ryder, or I have seen and used in my classroom multiple times. So let's get into them. The first remix option is a Jamboard Comic project. And definitely, again, respect to Dan Ryder and Jackie Gardy. Saw them present this at ISTE 21. It was fantastic and totally cribbing the idea from them with some modifications. So if you click on the link or the picture, it'll take you to this Jamboard that you can make a copy of and share with your students. You can make a copy and share it with them. Recently learned if you just change viewer to copy in Jamboard, it will make a forced copy, so you could give this to your students and let them create on it, which is awesome. So nice. Reason why I love Jamboard over something like Slides is because it's a little bit simpler, takes away a lot of the tools that we might need to create a presentation, and focuses only on these tools for creation and for sharing and collaboration, which is what we're looking for. So the remix that I've based on, again, Dan Ryder and Jackie Gardy's project, is right up here at the top. So here are the instructions. Hello, students. Today, you're going to write a comic book based on choose your subject teacher. So whatever subject you're going to work with, you're going to have at least 5 pages with 4 frames each. Teachers could adapt that however they want. We'll talk about that here in a second. You may use the starter images on this page, and explains how to copy and paste. And then you can use the scenery. You need scenery, dialogue, and at least 2 characters. You may choose any of the tools on your left to help you. Those tools are right here. There's some drawing tools, eraser, post-it notes, add images, add different shapes, and then also text box. And laser won't really help them, but it helps us to draw on what's there. And then just a reminder that I'll be walking around to help with anything that they need help with. Here are all of the images that I shared with them. I got these off of Canva for free. Easy to grab a background, but all the student has to do is click on any of these images. Again, copy, so we can go ahead and Control C. Go over to one of our panels, Control V, and now we have our knight that we can start playing with and getting him into our comic setting. There's some great tools right here under circle to add a text box if you want, or an arrow, or the student could just write in a sticky note to tell the story. I went with 5 pages, but you could change it however you want. And you can see that I've already inserted a kind of a breakup of the page into 4 panels, but you could delete some of these and do 1 page or 4 pages or 3 pages, however you wanted for your comic book. The backgrounds are here for the students as well to Control C and Control V. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this one that kind of matches our night. And then we can put this in the background and play with our order again, just like we did in everything else. We can send that and we're good to go. So you can see how quickly we can start putting together a comic book here and doing some really cool things with graphic knowledge. The other thing, part of the reason why I put 5 on here as well, is that you could have students that work in groups, and each person takes a page of 4 panels and they all write their own comic book and can compare as a group against each other. So lots of different ways to do it. Easy to make those instructions, easy to edit those instructions as well once you make a copy. So let's start remix project number 1. Remix project number 2 is actually through Sketchpad. This is sketchpad.io or sketch.io. This is a free web-based program. It works on Chromebooks. You do not need to log in. It saves students work from the first time they use it to the next time if they come back on the same computer. And it downloads files in a variety of formats, including JPEG, PNG, SVG, and PDF. They can also print and share and all sorts of stuff in here. Really, really cool. Got to thank, again, a few people like Dan Ryder and Jackie Gardy. They got me onto this program, and I absolutely love it. So there's lots of different tools on here, which is why I'm really in love with it. We have a drawing tool. So if you have students who want a little bit more creative freedom, if you're one of those kids of the 90s like I am, MS Paint, very similar, but more in depth. So there's lots of different brushes on here. I'm going to grab one of my favorite ones, which is Sketchy. We can go ahead and do any type of color with it. So we can do, I'm going to grab Disco. I've never played with Disco. Change our color as well. I'm going to grab a red. Grab a width here, maybe a little bit of spread, and then we can start drawing whatever we'd like. And you can see how quickly it kind of creates these really cool effects with this particular pen. But we can go back again to like something as simple as like, I just want a pen, and I can start drawing a stick figure or something more complex on here. There's also different shapes that they can work with. There's clip art that students can drop in there and play with the color and the opacity. They can drop text, and they can also fill. So lots of different ways to do this. Oop, there we go. And then at the end, all I have to do is download their project and turn it in as normal through whatever LMS you're using. So the last program that is available to students is this great program called, this great remix for storyboarding. So if you've ever taught film, one of the things that you should definitely do, and I learned this my first year working with students on film, is do a storyboard. Storyboard is basically creating a graphic representation of what you're going to film so everyone can visualize it. So I've taken this upon myself to create a remix project here. Again, instructions at the top to walk the students through it. As they go through, great little scene cards so they can draw or add pictures, create their scene, and then the text down below. But basically, again, a storyboard tells us the scene, gives us a visual representation and some text, including possible dialogue of what's going to happen there. As well as down below, there's some representations of famous storyboards. So I went with Star Wars, 1977, and The Lion King from 1994. Each one you can see has different needs of what they're going to share. And what's great is with Jamboard, the students, when they make their copy, they can go ahead and make it larger and kind of zoom in to specific things that they want to see in them. One thing that I love working with students on when we talk about storyboarding for film is being able to show them that there's different needs for different parts of the process. So like, for instance, this storyboard here with the text underneath it is for production use. So are we making decisions based on the script? Is this looking good? What do we need to change? Because you see text underneath it as well as the image. Whereas this might be more of an animator's storyboard. So you can talk about that as well. Or you can talk about kind of reflective storyboard changes, how things change from storyboard to production. I, for instance, just zooming in, love that this is what Chewbacca looked like in the storyboard. And then he looked completely different. And I always have to point that out to students. So storyboarding is another way to get students to do similar work as comic books in their reflective process, creating art for film. And so if you are teaching it or thinking about teaching a film unit, or are teaching a film unit this year where students are creating narrative films or documentaries or whatever it might be, definitely have them do a storyboard, and feel free to use this slide deck. One thing that's, or sorry, not slide deck, sorry, this Jamboard with your students. One thing that's great about Jamboard too is if I go ahead and click the drop down right here where it says 1 out of 6, we get the first Jamboard with all the information about storyboarding and the lesson assignment, but then all of the other jams down the way. And if we go ahead and click in the right hand corner where there's that little 3 dots, I can duplicate this so the students can add more jams of that the storyboard as needed, or they can take them away as they go through. So it makes it really easy for them to work with, and they can't move them around, so they have just that space to work on. So it makes it a little bit easier than doing something through slides. And again, I think it's a little bit easier for collaboration because very simple tool set, very easy to leave a note or an idea for other users, other students. All right, with that said, going back to our homepage here, all the materials for this lesson plan are either through Applied Digital Skills, or you'll find the remixes and the GEGUtah and UEN options down below here as well. So feel free to dive into those and use them in your classroom. I loved teaching comic books with my students and working with them and engaging them through sequential storytelling, fancy word for comic book, and guiding them through the process of things like storyboarding, where we have to include a visual and some text to represent exactly what we're trying to get across to our audience, to the people we're working with, the team that we're working on the project with. So it's a great way for students to dive in. And again, it's content agnostic. You could do this in a science class with a scientific process, or a famous scientist, or to film a video to show a process as well. You could, or a location. You could do this in ELA to do narrative storytelling and storytelling writing. You could do it in a social studies class to talk about a historical figure. And the list goes on and on and on. So if you've never done comic books or comic strips with your students, this is a great entry point. It's a quick lesson, engaging. And if you don't know the digital skills, Google's got you backed up with Applied Digital Skills. Next week, as I said at the beginning, we are not meeting face-to-face, but we'll have a pre-recorded session on how to work with your digital footprint, one of my favorite lessons in Applied Digital Skills because it's so important, especially in this day and age. So look for that very soon. But otherwise, thank you so much for your hard work, and email me if you have any questions, mwinners@uen.org. See you next time.